It's always quite sad when a key player is likely to be leaving your club. However, it is increasingly looking likely to be the case that Tanaka will be leaving Leeds United at the end of this season. So far this season he's got himself 14 appearances, 639 minutes, and it increasingly feels like he's not part of the plans. And you could say that, sure, he might become a little bit of a squad rotation player, but everything seems to be sort of stacking up in the direction of potentially leaving. So in this video I'm going to sort of dive through what all of those reasons are, the various scenarios in which case he might stay, he might leave, and ultimately what this means for Leeds going forwards. Yes, I'm in a goalkeeper kit. I just finished 7-a-side a little bit earlier. Also, I might sound a little bit ill because I still am, but it's fine. We'll move past it. Anyway, back to the main bit of story. So, as I mentioned, Tanaka is increasingly looking like he's not necessarily a part of Leeds United's plans. In the match against Brentford, immediately before the international break, he came on for a little bit, didn't have a huge influence or impact on the game, and to be honest, still sort of acted as you would expect the majority of midfielders to do so, receiving the ball, fairly simply recycling it, occasionally having a little bit of a pop-on goal from 20 yards out, but not really being that much of a transformative threat to the game. And that is what I think is the fundamental difference here. Leeds have been linked with a range of different midfield targets, from number 10s to number 8s that are able to progress the ball, to wingers that can also play on the inside, such as a Harry Wilson. And they're all fairly major targets. They're all reasonably expensive deals for the most part, outside of Harry Wilson, who we'd potentially sign on a free. He's not got a new contract at Fulham just yet. And all of these have the sort of underlying trend of their players that would progress the ball very effectively. They're players that would potentially be able to pick it up from deep, work with fellow midfielders, either passing it or dribbling themselves, and get lead from the back line forwards, which is something that we're sort of missing at the minute, that sort of speedy progression, that ability to move all the way from the back to all the way to the front. And at the moment, having Tanaka there is all well and good. I really, really like the guy, key part of the promotion squad. His name's on that shirt, and I really quite like that. But at the moment, his role in the squad is effectively adding depth to what is already a little bit of a bloated area of the side. If you're looking at the central midfield areas, we've got Gruev can play there, Ampadu, Stack, Longstaff, Tanaka. And Tanaka feels like he's towards the back of that queue, mainly because Gruev has been pretty effective. He doesn't play the prettiest game, obviously. He's a little bit of a sort of grunty player, is someone that will be effective, but not aesthetically pleasing whilst he does it in the way that you would necessarily get out of Tanaka. Longstaff, again, I think has a little bit more long-term potential in him, and he's not a player that will be able to sell at any point soon anyway, because amortization, which means that we would need to sell him for a fairly significant chunk of change in order for it to go down as PSR profit. That's not necessarily the case for Tanaka. I'll get back to that one in a little bit of time, but the fact that he is in that already bloated area of the pitch means that there is potential for an exit, and in addition to that, the fact that there are a lot of German clubs interested in signing him also means that there is potential for an exit. So, the clubs that currently have a little bit of an interest in signing out Tanaka are as follows. You've got Union Berlin, who sort of quite fancy him. They're taking a little bit of a look. They want to add a little bit more solidity to their midfield. They've been conceding more than they want to. For example, they have currently conceded 46 goals. They're 9th in the Bundesliga right now. And they've conceded more goals than St. Pauli, who are currently in 16th. That ability to control the game of football is something that Union Berlin are really missing at the minute, and this would sort of help them to transform that. In addition to that, Schalke, having a little bit of a look at him as well. Schalke currently not in the Bundesliga, they're in the second division, I believe. But they're looking to sort of build their way back, and they will have seen that Tanaka, decent job in the Championship, did well in the second Bundesliga before, would be able to do a pretty damn good job. And you've also got Hanover taking a little bit of a look, who are also in that second division, looking to sort of build their way up and get to the best position possible. Schalke, just checked, top of the second Bundesliga at the moment. That's how you say those words. With Hanover just 3 points behind, so very much sides that are looking to progress and think that Tanaka will take them to that level. If you are looking at Tanaka right now, and the fact that we paid 2 and a bit million quid for him when we signed him, we would only have something like £1 million of PSR payment left to do on him. So anything beyond that £1 million would be profit. Our Tanaka right now is worth a hell of a lot more than that. Like, there's arguments for 15 to 20 million quid that could reasonably be made, like maybe a bit lower than that considering the fact he's not really played that much this season. But that's a hell of a lot of PSR money to be made. And if you say, for example, we make 10 million quid in profit on PSR, that's where we get a massive increase in the budget by amortising the next payment. That's where we look at potentially signing, people have been mentioning Hayden Hackney, for example. If we end up signing him for 30 million quid, that's over a 4-year contract, £7.5 million a year, which is covered by that Tanaka money, which is absolutely essential. Ultimately, I think we're in a bit of a weird situation with Tanaka where his potential future at the club depends on where we are next season, but maybe not in the way that he might want. So, for example, if we get relegated to the Championship, we know that he's a very, very firm hand that we can rely on in that division. Therefore, I think if we're relegated to the Championship, there's a bigger chance of keeping him. He'll be someone who will play week in, week out and be a fundamental part of that squad because he knows that division. He's reasonably at the pace of it, where he's looked a little bit slow for the Premier League and ultimately will be a very, very strong asset down there if he sticks around if we get relegated. I don't believe that will be the case, though. I believe we stay in the Premier League, and I believe that if we stay in the Premier League, his fate is ultimately not at Leeds United. I think in that instance, his fate is going to be somewhere in Germany, where a club will pay a fairly substantial wad of cash to get someone that they know is a very reliable player, is very good at what he does. He's just not up to the pace and the physicality of the Premier League at the minute, which is not a bad thing in the slightest. I'm just going to make that 1,000% clear. That's going to happen to some players. He's been a very, very loyal servant to the club, and I've got nothing against Tanaka in the slightest, but I think as much as people have repeatedly said to me on my videos that you need to sort of ditch the sentimentality from time to time, I'm going to lean into that for once and say that this season we've seen a hell of a lot of times that one of the things that we are missing is a midfielder that is able to take the ball from the back to the front quickly and efficiently and cause significant problems for opposing defenders. I don't believe Tanaka is that, and I believe a sale of Tanaka opens the door to that, which is something that we should probably do. Because if you look at the other players that are potentially leaving, Piru, sure, he's probably leaving anyway, but that's not what this video is about. But people keep saying Strauch consistently starts, plays very often for us, will probably be saying. People will often say Nonto. Those are the same people that say we need to use wingers more often. I think Tanaka is one of the players that looks like he's most likely to be on the way out, and it makes me a little bit sad to say, but it's also the one that makes the most sense at the moment.
Next story up is around Tanaka, and before I get into this one, just to say this is an exclusive that's coming from Team Talk, so just take this one with a little pinch of salt right now, but it is an exclusive and it relates to a player going out and news coming from Germany, so there's a little bit more to this than the normal rumoured stories. According to Team Talk, they say Leeds United could look to sell Tanaka this summer, as interest is growing in Germany in the Japanese international. Tanaka himself is also said to want to have more game minutes, and from a Leeds financial perspective, we only spent £2.9 million bringing him in from Dusseldorf, and if they were to sell him this summer, they'd likely sell him for a considerably higher price than that, meaning from an SCR and PSR model, it would bring in a nice chunk of cash for the club. However, I think most of us would rather if Tanaka was kept around the place, given more minutes, utilised more. I think the reaction from the Ellen Road fans when he was brought on against Brentford says everything that anyone needs to know about this situation. He got a huge reception, a massive roar went up around the ground when he came on, but Team Talk say that their sources believe that there are 3 German sides that have shown interest in Tanaka, and some of them have already contacted Leeds to do the groundwork on a potential move. Schalke and Hanover are said to be the 2 sides that are mostly interested. Both of those sides are pushing for promotion to the Bundesliga from Bundesliga 2, with Schalke currently sitting top of Bundesliga 2. The other club that are said to have some level of interest in Tanaka at this point are Union Berlin, but at this stage, according to Team Talk, their interest is said to just be as an option right now with no concrete talks or moves having happened. Team talks say that at this point, Leeds United's stance on whether they will sell or keep out Tanaka has yet to be decided, but they aren't ruling out a sale at this point. Personally, and this is my own personal opinion on this, I think there's a lot more that we can get out of Tanaka. I think he's shown signs this season of a player who can be very important to Leeds if we decide to play slightly more progressive football in there and take more risks. I think he's a perfect fit in that midfield. And I don't feel he's been utilised enough since the turn of the year this year. So you can let me know your thoughts on this one down below. I would love to keep Tanaka around, but I'm a fan of Tanaka, so I'm slightly biased on that one. But I would like to know everyone else's thoughts on this. But yeah, lots of interest in Germany. You would imagine to be interest from Premier League clubs as well, given the type of footballer that he is. He's very tidy on the ball. He's a good striker of it, good set piece taker.